if we are
Hello, good morning. Good morning to everyone. Good morning to our partners, our speakers, all the participants to this youth forum, and to anyone who is listening to us. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being here so early, I would say. If there is one positive aspect of organizing conferences online is that you can reach to all the corners of the earth more easily, but that implies that we are all settled in different time. So I hope it was not too hard for someone to wake up to be here. I'm Chiara Lovotti. I am an Associate Research Fellow for the Middle East and North Africa program at ISPI, the Italian Institute for International Political Studies. And I am pleased to welcome you all to this edition of the Rome Med Conference Youth Forum, promoted by ISPI, which I represent, and the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, which is here represented by Vice Minister Marina Sereni and Councillor Fabio Vanoglio, whom I thank on behalf of all of us for the involvement in initiative. I know that some of you know this initiative very well, but some others may not. So allow me to introduce to it anyone very briefly. We launched as a Rome Med conference, we launched the Youth Forum in 2017 to create dedicated space within the Rome Med Dialogues Conference to young people attending the event. For those of you who have been in Rome with us in the past years, and for those who will hopefully in the following years, Rome Med is a mashup of running following to each other panels, a lot of sessions run simultaneously, and you barely have usually the time to be on time to each session you wish to attend. You don't have a lot of time for networking usually. And so the Youth Forum was a way to gather all young people attending the conference, force them into one room and bring them to talk to meet each other, of course, first of all, and to talk about the many challenges affecting the region, so the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and North Africa. Over the years, we have touched upon so many issues. We've talked about youth participation in politics in those countries of the Mediterranean, Middle East, and European countries as well. We have discussed economic issues and the tragedy of unemployment, which affects many countries in the Mediterranean in a similar way. We have discussed challenges of being an activist, a young activist in the Mediterranean, Middle East, and North Africa. We have discussed, and at some point also based on the suggestions of you, the participants, the young people attending the Youth Forum, we have decided to move from talk to project development. And this is when we discussed the possibility of having the young people attending the Youth Forum present their entrepreneurial activities of any kind. So we basically started to look for innovative ideas and projects. And we did that through a call for application, as simple as that. We gathered the best, most insightful projects, and we invited their inventors to Rome. And then, of course, we would eventually select a couple of winners among these projects that we gathered. So this is the second year in a row that we do this exercise of the Youth Forum contest. The main purpose is precisely this: ideas and give them voice. We are not alone, fortunately, I say, in this adventure. We enjoy the partnership of the representation of the European Commission in Italy, the Boston Consulting Group, the European Training Foundation, and the OECD. And I wish to thank all the people working in these organizations for making this Youth Forum possible. And of course, my dear colleagues at HISP for their constant work and support, without which this forum really wouldn't have been possible. These people are our partners, as I said, but they are also part of the what we have called the technical jury, who will co-help in selecting the winners of today's Youth Forum. But even more fantastic, we have two operators for the provide you all details about the functioning of the contest and all you have to know to be here with us today. And I'm talking of two people which whom I'm happy also to call friends. First, Hussein, founder of and social entrepreneur, founder of Zaitun Ventures, and Adel Amaizia of the Chatham House, and a lot of other things that he does that perhaps he will tell himself to you. So I leave the floor to whoever comes first of them, and I leave you in very good, and I hope you will enjoy this contest. And of course, I will be there with you all the time, and we'll talk later. Thank you so much.
Buongiorno, everybody. Chiara, thank you so much. Sabah al-khair, good morning. What a great pleasure it is to be with all of you, and warm greetings from Jerusalem. Really excited to actually be a part of this another year. My name is Fursan Hussein. I am a social entrepreneur, a business entrepreneur. I am also an investor and the founder and CEO of Zaitun Ventures. Zaitun Ventures is an impact startup factory and a venture fund. We invest in already existing entrepreneurs, but we also create our own impactful ventures. One of our aim, very briefly, was really to support the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Palestine and support Arab and Palestinian entrepreneurs, but also create successful technology companies by bringing Arab and Israeli entrepreneurs together. So my involvement with MED has gone now for 4 years, and I'm so happy about that. And Chiara has pulled me into the Youth Forum very quickly. And for the past 2 years, I've had the great pleasure of co-moderating the Youth Entrepreneurship Contest with my friend Adel. So allow me, friends, for really just 1 minute to go over the contest in numbers, okay? And then Adel will give you the rules. So this year we have received 42 projects. These 42 projects were spanned across 17 countries, and they included 2 categories. 14 projects came from the business and new economic models category, and 28 came from the culture and civil society category. Now, within these 2 categories, there are different sectors. So allow me to just mention, we read and evaluated projects including, from education, health, telemedicine, including telemedicine, youth empowerment and job training, homelessness, urban innovation, food and food security. So really super exciting projects. And I'm also happy to see a couple of faces that are familiar, Marilena and Tariq. So thank you for joining us again this year. Very important and very briefly, there is a technical jury, and this technical jury has simmered down the 42 projects into the top 10 projects. And Adil obviously will elaborate in 1 minute about these categories. But we're very proud to say that out of the 10 projects, friends, we have 50% of these entrepreneurs were females and 50% males. Without further ado, I'd like to give the screen now to my friend Adil to continue and introduce himself.
Thank you so much, Forsan. A thumbs up if you can hear me, please. Perfect. Well, buongiorno, good morning, Azul Flaun, assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everybody from central London. My name is Adil Hamazi. I'm delighted to be here with you today for the MED 2020 Youth Forum second series, if you like. So very brief background about myself. I've had the pleasure of working very closely with governments and private sector with about 12 to 15 of the sort of countries in the region under the banner of the so-called Arab League states. Though, of course, we have a plurality of ethnicities when we're discussing entrepreneurship, engagement, and the economy. I also have a think tank hat with Chatham House, which I'm representing today. And at Chatham House, we've done a lot of interesting work in North Africa and beyond, looking at economics and entrepreneurship. And for all of the negative headlines that emanate from our region, one of the sort of, I think, stories that aren't told well enough is the synonym of tijara, entrepreneurship, trade, which used to define the region. But I would sort of say that we have almost a cultural amnesia when it comes to celebrating this due to the various bottlenecks from legislation to political risk. Now, moving on to the competition proper, and to take you through the rules, regulations, voting, competition parameters for the forum. I speak very quickly, I know. Candidates from the European countries could only participate if they had a partner from the southern side of the Mediterranean, and to be more specific, across MENA. So we have the Mediterranean countries, but we've also gone into the GCC, and representing the Gulf today, we have our colleague Tariq Al-Ulaimi, all the way from Manama. So I think Marrakesh to Manama was our geographical boundaries. Between the institutional partners mentioned by Chiara, who have been very generous, supportive, and encouraging, we formed a technical jury, as Forsan had mentioned, and as Chiara had mentioned, and we whittled down this aforementioned 42 projects to 10, which we have today. And these are, quite frankly, the top 10 projects. Based on a methodologically robust process, the jury has selected the top 2 projects. So while this sort of constitutes half of the decision making, the rest will be decided by you in the audience today via the polling mechanism, which you will see at the end of the presentation, pitches to pick your favorite projects. The decisions between audience and jury will merge to select a final winner. So the parameters for the selection process, and I really ask you, please, everybody focus on me for just a second if you are looking at your coffee. The parameters for the selection process, we ask you, the audience, to be guided by these. I'm going to say them very slowly. The pertinence and quality of the contribution. Project feasibility and completeness. How realistic is this? Great ideas, if they don't make sense financially, ma'a salama, good luck. Creativity and innovation. What is the USP? What is the comparative advantage? How different is this, we're saying? The relevance to the MENA region. If it's something that is so green that it should be in California and maybe doesn't belong to the legislative ecosystem that we have in a specific country, maybe there's a question mark. The future vision and prospects. What does this look like going forward? Is there a market? In the spirit of the Barcelona process anniversary, money, markets, mobility. What does this look like when thinking about these projects? And then, of course, the potential for the project to develop. I will be putting the criteria in the chat as well, as Florence has asked, and this will go for all of our colleagues. Each presenter will have exactly 3 minutes to present their projects, and that's 3 minutes a la Stockholm, not a la the region. So I really ask you to be very, very timely within the 3 minutes. We'll then have a 2 minutes Q&A. and a warning for presenters and entrepreneurs, and we've also presenters, entrepreneurs, and movers and shakers. As moderators, Forsan and I, as I said before, our reputation as enforcers precede us. So, like I say, 3 minutes is 3 minutes is 3 minutes, and we'll give you a 30 seconds warning to wrap up. We welcome questions from the audience, so please do submit them by the various platforms. We have ISPI colleagues who will be sharing the questions with us to quiz our presenters at the very end. But please ensure that these are made during the presentation, given the sort of very quick transitions, right? And feel free to share your name and affiliation there. One thing we stress, and again, this is another thing which I really ask you to listen clearly on. In order to ensure parity, valence, fairness, equity, please do stay to the end. Because if you watch 2 of our presenters and you don't watch 2 of the others, polling, assi. It's not going to be so fair. So I really ask you to do that. During the poll tallying, we are delighted to have in store a very interesting presentation on the Arab Youth Survey, which I highly recommend everybody engages and looks at to try and understand what can be done, as well as policymakers in terms of visibility, financing, and so on and so forth. This will be with Florence Gaub and Osama Filali Naji. The announcement of this year's winners will be made soon thereafter with Italy's Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Marina Sereni. The cash prize for the 2020 winners will receive 2,500 euros. Sorry, I got everybody excited there. And this will be from one of each of our categories. So the idea is that for each presenter, Forsan and I will oscillate in presenting. And with no further ado, let the games begin. Forsan, over to you.
Thank you, Habib Adil. Thank you very much. And I'm not going to speak much, but I'd like for all of us now to fly to Egypt. We have a fantastic entrepreneur, Mahmoud Abid Rabbu, who created a project called Decentralized School Systems, and that falls in the category of culture and civil society, and specifically in education. Super exciting project that talks about, obviously answers some of the needs in COVID-19 era. Mahmoud, the screen is yours. And you have, Mahmoud, again, you have 3 minutes. At 2.5 minutes, I'm going to interrupt you.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Mahmoud. My project is Decentralized School System. Daily life of many nations has changed since COVID-19 pandemic. Many sectors have suffered great impact, especially health and education. Students suffer from the unstable process of education because of the virus. Since the first wave of COVID-19, we have worked hard to create a platform to establish remote learning and live exams. During current testing process, technical departments are doing all missions from streaming live tests, collecting answers, then giving results back to students. This centralized process of education is long, slow, and inefficient. So we are about to finish our platform, decentralized school system. Using it, the teacher can do many tasks, such as can publish exams, can receive answers from students, can correct answers and send results back to students. Also, teacher can publish courses and books, PDFs, and multimedia files. Also, teacher can chat with a student or a parent. The development of this process, of this project is done. Now we are translating the user interface into 4 languages. Until we can fund the marketing process, we are working, we built our website called vivost.com and an Android app called Vivost. We are working hard to establish the idea of remote learning to reduce physical contact between student and teacher, and to reduce the exchange of documents during the education process. Thank you.
Mahmoud, well done. Thank you very much. And that actually took you only 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Fantastic. We have then more time for you to answer some of the questions. I just heard you that you said you're translating the platform into 4 languages. I'd like to know which languages these are. But also think about, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. If you could maybe write them down and then elaborate so that we don't have this go back and forth. So what languages are these, Mahmoud? The other thing is, clearly this is a project for a COVID-19 era, right? Well, what happens tomorrow? We're going to have vaccine. And let's say, you know, if COVID-19 is not an issue, what would you do? How would you pivot? Would this still be relevant? And tell us also about the financing. What is it that you really need to reach your goal in the end?
Okay, the first question, the 4 languages are Italian, Spanish, English, and Arabic. The second question was after the pandemic. Okay, I think the future is the future of remote learning, of a new technician, of online education, because viruses can occur regularly. When I was a child, we saw many viruses. Also, it's not a one-time wave, not one virus, but it's regularly happening. The third question about funding. I could complete the project by myself as developing, but marketing, I am not expert in marketing. I can't reach investors. So the fund will go to marketing, not development. The development almost completed.
And maybe in 20 seconds, tell me a little bit about your technical team. Do you have developers, and who are they?
Okay, I don't have one man show. I don't have a technician. I studied the languages and IT also, the two.
Okay, bravo, Ali. Thank you very, very much. Well done. And now, Adil, take it from here.
Thanks very much, Forsan. So Forsan flew to Egypt, will now be flying over the Red Sea and Saudi Arabia, possibly through the causeway to Bahrain and Manama. Tariq Al-Ulaimi, you have exactly 3 minutes to tell us about the recipes for well-being, and I certainly need some of these for my own, so I'm very much looking forward to your pitch. Tariq, the floor is yours.
Thank you and buongiorno. My name is Tariq Al-Ulaimi, and it's a pleasure to have this opportunity to share the work that we're doing at Recipes for Wellbeing, as Adil mentioned. This is a project that was established in 2018 by a team of Bahraini and Italian social entrepreneurs with an aim to support those who are creating a positive impact in the world in their own well-being, whether that was activists, social entrepreneurs, NGOs, or policymakers. And what this really means is working towards making resources around well-being accessible to all. Now, for us, what this looks like in practice is we have an open well-being resource commons, where we have 140 freely accessible well-being recipes on our website covering mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and digital well-being practices. So these are applicable to teams and individuals from short-term to more systemic solutions. We have them available in English, Italian, French, German, and Spanish with Arabic planned. We also have our in-person well-being experiences from workshops and well-being labs, and we've also developed our digital well-being journeys, where we've partnered with organizations such as Google to create educational content on digital well-being, which is available in more than 30 languages across 64 countries. And so far in our impact, we have supported individual activists and social entrepreneurs in over 100 countries. We've engaged over 1,000 youth-driven NGOs to integrate well-being strategies and practices into their day-to-day work. We've reached 6,000 people who've attended our events, physical well-being labs, hosted everywhere from Italy, Portugal, Morocco, Pakistan, Bahrain, and the UAE. And we've reached impact communities, from delivering well-being retreats at the World Economic Forum in Davos earlier this year, to partnerships with social impact communities like Ashoka supporting hundreds of their community members. And this has been achieved through a nonprofit model where in 2020 so far, 90% of our revenues has been received through well-being services provided to large organizations and 10% received through charitable donations. But it's a model we know that needs to scale. From March 2020, we've seen a 700% increase in demand in our services. And we know that COVID not only poses a threat to people's physical health, but it shatters their emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. And that's why we've been actively supporting change makers and teams around the world to cope with the current situation and find ways to thrive. And that's also why we're motivated to participate in the Med Youth Contest, to highlight this model and need for such holistic well-being approaches, and to identify potential partners to expand our offerings further in the MENA region. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Tariq. Could you sort of start by sort of very briefly sort of telling us a little bit about your sort of understanding of this very subjective term, well-being? In fact, we often refer to it as subjective well-being, and I know some countries in the Gulf have specifically looked at this Bhutan-inspired gross national happiness, as it were. Could you tell us a little bit about your understanding of well-being, and on the incredible growth that you've seen, is 700% that you mentioned? Could you tell us a little bit how COVID propelled this or exacerbated this, and what you see in the near future for the project, as hopefully Pfizer and Moderna et al. Bring us back to the level of normality on this planet?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Adil. So for our definition of well-being, it's around holistic well-being. To integrate the mental well-being, physical well-being, emotional well-being, spiritual well-being, and digital well-being together. Our focus is on not so much the individual. So there's only so much self-care you can do. It's really about how do we together in communities come and create cultures of care, strategies of care, practices of care. So our more easier or simpler practices around those 5 different dimensions. But then it really goes further to that when you start to talk about systemic well-being, and when you talk about climate change. What does it actually mean for a community to still be well in their emotional well-being and their mental well-being whilst they're being affected by a climate crisis, by a drought, and also with the activists that are really fighting towards that. Within the economic context, it's really defined in the context of the care economy, which is a segue to your sort of next question. This is the sector which is the largest growing sector in jobs, according to the World Economic Forum. It's something we've seen a great potential and need for as well. And what we see now as COVID and what has propelled it is that teams who have already been burnt out, and I think can speak probably for many on this call, who've been doing incredible work, really pushing hard. And COVID really came at a time where both it allowed us to slow down, but also really speed up. And I think people really realized just how unwell they were in their own practices, in their own teams, the patterns that are arriving, and COVID is just an amplifier for that. To what has already been there in the burnout culture amongst activists, and we're happy to support them in that.
Thank you very much, Tariq. Over to you, Forsan, for our 3rd contestant.
Thank you, Tariq. Thank you, Adil. Friends, I would have loved for you to fly to Syria to meet a wonderful entrepreneur, Haidar Anbar, though unfortunately Haidar is not able to connect and be with us live. So we're going to show a video of him presenting his project. However, allow me first to say that this is really one of the most ambitious projects I have seen. It is called Design an Integrated Sharing System to link the different medical facilities remotely with a central unit. One of the greatest tech gaps in MENA is health tech. And we know that the world is going through this incredible artificial intelligence revolution, and telemedicine is one of the most important things that we need to get right. And so I wish Haidar were here with us, but let us see his video. And we're not going to have any questions, but maybe we'll connect with him later offline. So please show us the video.
Hello, my name is Haidar from Syria. I am a biomedical engineer, graduated from Damascus University First of all, I'm really glad that I am recording this video right now, and I am really excited that I am one of the participants of this contest, and I'm really excited that I'm going to share my ideas and my project in this contest. About my project, it's one of a telemedicine application. It's an integrated sharing system to link the different medical facilities remotely with a central unit. This special system to facilitate the process of providing telemedicine services using modern information technology such as the internet. The existence of a high-tech infrastructure of internet connection system has allowed us to develop some low-cost system to support telemedicine services. This service is related to the digital images, medical images and laboratory test report. This system works on any computer system or any mobile phone. The system provide a real participation in the distance education sector and scientific research. Nowadays, as we know, the COVID-19 pandemic, the system will play a precious role to avoid the spread of COVID-19. The system will help us to share the information of the information for diagnostic and research purpose remotely. And this system will help us to facilitate access to isolated areas and share information. This system will help us to access to areas where there are a few specialists. About the system, the build of the system, there's databases, and there are databases and interactive interfaces. The databases, we will use the MySQL language. It's one of the most important database languages, and the communication with database will be done in PHP. PHP, one of the most important language for creating web applications. The databases tables has many. The database has many tables for user data, for patient data, for medical image data, for the report and medical consultation data. The interfaces it will be for the entering data and images, and for display. The language that will be used to build the interfaces, that's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The system is clear and easy to use with clear notifications to fill the fields. The system is equipped with the interfaces for writing medical reports, providing medical consultation services, and interfaces for educational purpose. Thank you very much.
We can't hear you, Fursan.
Sorry about that. I clicked twice, but I'm saying thank you, Haider. Definitely ambitious, wonderful project, and I'm sorry that he was not with us physically to interact with him, questions and answers. Adil, the screen is yours. Let's go through the next project, please.
Thank you so much, Fursan. So moving from Syria to Italy, and just 3 hours south of ISPI's HQ in Pisa, we have Sofia Ditano, who will unveil and take us through her project, namely that unveil. Sofia, the floor is yours. 3 minutes.
Thank you. Okay. Good day, everyone. A few days ago, we celebrated the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. While this day will take place every year, we cannot deny that 1 in 3 women will experience violence in their lifetime. The pandemic has raised of approximately 75% of violence help requests in Italy. More than half of those cases will never see a final resolution and will be dismissed by the victim themselves. The worrying implications are violence becoming the only way to resolve conflict for future generations and relegating it as a private matter rather than a serious harm to human rights. The question is how to make a concrete change in our lifetime. While I'm talking to you, my fellows Julia, Anya, Roberta, and Veronica are implementing the first set of activities of our project Unveil, co-founded by the European Solidarity Corps. They are reaching 500,000 teenagers from home to home in digital classrooms. A peer-to-peer learning experience intends to build tools to prevent domestic violence, to recognize it, and hopefully to defeat it. A community of young people who can carry it on through daily behaviors and action of dissemination. It is about shifting cultural paradigm, fighting gender biases, and unveiling violence in any context. To act in the local community is crucial, but it's not enough. Violence and toxicity have no boundaries. What we are doing from our privileged position can be replicated elsewhere. We are therefore initiating exciting conversation with peers from Tunisia and Egypt, including a regional representative from the UN Major Group on Children and Youth and the African Voice Hub, and beyond all the way to the UAE. Through our mentor, we are also exchanging ideas with youth from Mozambique and will host local experts in our activities to benefit from their experience in an intergenerational dialogue. Will it be possible to scale Unveil worldwide? Eradicating violence starts from education, safe spaces, clear reference points, and
30 seconds, please, Sophia. 30 seconds.
Yes. Policymaker, the private sector, CSO, innovator, and each one of you can contribute to capitalize the effort in this battle of civilization. And we all want to become no violent fighters against violence. I thank you all.
Thank you so much, Sophia, and lovely infographic there. The sort of two quick questions we sort of have for you is, you sort of refer to this incredible target, which is incredible, to reduce the episodes of violence in each community by 1%. First of all, could you elaborate a little bit on what this looks like in terms of on-the-ground reality beyond the numbers? And the second question is, you refer to the public-private partnerships and engagement with civil society. Could you elaborate a little bit on what this looks like and who, you don't have to tell us who these partners are, but at least their, the types and how you're engaging with them. Sophia.
Yes, thank you for your question. Well, the aim is that every single participant will contribute to reducing violence by at least 1%, as to show that only together we can make a concrete change. And about our partnership, we like Unveil. It's easy to scale because you just need a violence or a discrimination to unveil, and it's everywhere. So we need to also talk about with the private sector. Also in workplaces, violence and discrimination are everywhere. So we need to ask to scale Unveil worldwide.
And just on the partnerships, Sophia.
Yes. About our partnership, we are a young team. I am 21 and my fellows are 20. And we have the support of a no-profit organization in Italy, which is called Eduactive. And in July, we won the contest at the European Solidarity Corps, and we had the chance to be co-funded by them. And we hopefully will have contact in Egypt and the UAE, where there are lots of our peers that are interested in Unveil, and they want to share this project in their schools too.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Before I pass on to Forsan, just a very brief re-emphasis. At the end of the presentations, we'll be polling with you guys in the audience to pick your favorite two presentations. And just to re-emphasize those parameters for sort of your vote, if you like. So it's pertinence and quality of the contribution, pretty self-explanatory. Project feasibility and completeness, creativity / innovative content. How different is this? Is it genuinely a USP, if you like? Relevance to the MENA region, not to Asia, not to South America, but to the MENA region. Future vision and prospects, and the potential for the project to continue on a steady upward trajectory. Just a mini re-emphasis. Sorry for that. Over to you, Forsan. Thank you.
Thanks, Adil. And we're going to stay in the cultural and civil society category. We're going to stay in health, and we're going to fly together to Syria to meet Paula Ibrahim, who has a project called COVID-19 Emergency Health Response in Syria. Paula, you have 3 minutes, and I'm going to interrupt at the 30-second line. Go.
Okay, thank you. My name is Paula Ibrahim, and I'm going to talk about my project of COVID-19 emergency health response in Syria. The main goal of the project is to support and accompany 1,000 vulnerable families in the context of the COVID-19 in Jeramana, Syria, and achieve 3 main objectives. By the end of the intervention, 1,000 families have raised their awareness. By the end of the project, 1,000 families have received a hygiene kit. By the end of the intervention, the families develop an essential tool to cope with the COVID-19 crisis. The life cycle of the project is as follows. First phase, 2 weeks, preparation of the staff, raising awareness, cap assessment, to define the problems and develop a list of selected beneficiaries. Second phase is visiting families and to provide a card for each family to receive a hygiene basket. The third phase is hygiene distribution, and the kit components is in respect to COVID-19 regulations. Beneficiaries are 1,000 vulnerable families from Jeramana, and the registered families will be selected according to a vulnerability assessment in which the economic situation and health condition have primacy. The state of the development of the project is Jeramana. It's a large district located at the east of the Syrian capital, Damascus, and it received a large number of ITPs during the past years. Beside the high-risk COVID-19 outbreak in Syria, with no medical equipments provided in hospitals and no clear declaration of the real number of cases, Syria is economically at a breakdown. The budget of the proposal is equal to 36,000 euros, 30,000 euros for hygiene basket, 10 euro for each basket multiplied by 1,000 beneficiary multiplied by 3 months. The funding will be from faith-based organizations who have connections to major donors. These NGOs have a long experience with helping refugees back to year 2008 when Iraqis came to Syria, and in 2011 when Syria crisis happened. Future steps are first, post-monitoring to collect beneficiaries' feedback on the items distributed through assessments. To referral channel, the project will reach out to medical entities and coordinate with doctors, so the beneficiaries will contact these authorities in case of the appearance of any symptoms of the COVID-19. 3 online video conferences for the beneficiaries that have access to media platform. Rome-Med Dialogue could support this project by analyzing this project and giving recommendations to develop this project. The reason for presenting it in the Youth Forum contest is to share experience with other young team leaders who aim for a better life in the Middle East. And the future development of the project is fundraising initiatives to get money to help people in Syria with food and hygiene kits distributions, as the prices have raised by approximately 300% lately, and provide a regular video conference awareness sessions. Thank you for listening.
Paula, thank you very, very much. Wonderful presentation. I'm wondering, so as an investor, I think about where do I raise money from? And I think in your presentation said that it's going to be really faith-based organization. I'm wondering why you're limiting it to that. That's my first question. The second question would be, look, this is a project that could be so relevant all over the MENA region. In fact, in so many places in the world. So do you have any plans, Paula, to expand beyond that specific geographical region, maybe nationally, countrywide, maybe even regionally? I can tell you so many countries that would need such a service. That's my second question. And if we have a little bit of time, would you please elaborate on the framework on the vulnerability assessment? You tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. First, I focused on the faith-based organizations because I have worked for around 5 years in the humanitarian field in Syria, and I've worked especially for the area Jaramana, which I mentioned in the project. And this area have been really damaged after the war, and also before the war, the situation was not really good there. So, the faith-based organization really helped this area, and they are already collaborating there. So they are already having a reserve fund to help Jaramana. So that's why I focused on these faith-based organizations, because I already know information that they are helping this area right now, since the war started in Syria in 2011, and they are still collaborating to help people there. Also for Jaramana, it's for the assessment. I will focus first on the house conditions. Also, it will be marks for each criteria. So for the house conditions, for the number of people in the family, for the unemployment level, for maybe if someone have a disease in the family or not. This criteria will be really critical and detailed. And once in the first phase, in the 2 weeks, the selection will be only if the criteria were high. The points were high. To expand this project nationally, I hope I moved to Brescia, Italy. I'm starting an international business in Brescia University, and this is, I think, one step to develop my knowledge and I'm willing to keep coordinating with the faith-based organizations in Syria and to help even if I'm a bit far away. Thank you so much.
On mute for Sam.
Again, thank you, Paula. Perfect answers, perfect timing. Adil, take the floor.
Thank you so much. And yep, from east of Brescia and 1,300 kilometers west of Syria, we go to Athens with Marilena Maracu, who will tell us about We AfriHug 2021. Indaxi, and welcome to Marilena. 3 minutes.
Of the overall population are under 30. Young people are facing challenges in contributing to the social and economic development in their countries. According to the World Bank, a pool for skills is needed from the labor market and from the society that involves reform beyond the education system. What do you think about these statistics? My name is Marilena Maragu, and I'm going to present you We AfriHug 2021. We AfriHug, it is an educational project of Youth Makers Hub. It's being implemented in Africa every year with a different edition. It started back in 2018 on a voluntary basis, based on donation and an online crowdfunding campaign. While in 2019 and 2020, it got a fund from the European Commission. The vision is to bring closer Africa and Europe. The methodology is based on training seminars, non-formal education, and experience sharing. It's based on SDG number 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations and aspiration number 7 of the Agenda 2063 of the African Union. We have 2 target groups: universities, including academic, administrative staff and students, and civil society organizations, including youth workers and young leaders. We have local partners in the targeted countries who are ready to support our activities in Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, and Egypt. We also have with us policymakers and stakeholders, including ambassadors of the countries, among others. What are the activities? 5 digital training seminars in 5 universities focusing on Erasmus+, capacity building on writing proposals for funding, and capacity building of students, targeting 500 beneficiaries. We will also implement 5 digital training seminars in collaboration with our local CSOs, focusing on Erasmus+, capacity building on project management, soft and digital skills, including communication, entrepreneurship, and web development, among others, targeting 200 beneficiaries. The digital model we adapt to the current pandemic and to the shift to the digital activities all activities will be implemented online. What is the innovation behind is the co-creation process between African and European youth collaborating together. The impact so far: 9 African countries having trained 4,000 beneficiaries from 17 universities and 150 CSOs. I could say that the most outstanding achievement was 25 life-changing mobilities between Africa and Europe. The measurable vision of
30 seconds
is to train participants from all African countries until 2035. Let MENA region be the next, and do not miss the opportunity to be part of this amazing journey. We Africa, do you? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marilena. Just a couple of brief questions, and thanks again for the infographic. Could you say a little bit about, you mentioned COVID, again, perhaps spurring engagement, but how has it sort of, have there been any, if you could sort of weigh up the pros and cons very briefly in terms of how you've adapted? So thinking out loud, if you're talking about blue collar or light blue collar, not white collar capacity building, of course, digital, there are limitations. Could you say a little bit about what that looks like? And if you could also tell us a little bit about how you've forged these engagements with local CSOs and who has supported that endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Adel, for this question. So regarding the adaptation, and we already know the limitations regarding the digital training, and we have faced this this year as we have conducted several digital trainings. We collaborate with local CSOs and universities, and we will ensure together that we don't have the limitation of internet connection. We will not face these challenges. That's why we want to raise funds. We want to ensure that we don't have this aspect as an obstacle, and we are ready to face any similar challenges regarding this aspect. Thank you, Adele.
Just very, very briefly on the partnerships, if you could, Marilena. Second question.
Can you repeat the question about the partnership?
You mentioned local CSOs. How did you go about, creating and forging these bonds?
Okay. So, since 2018 that we operate this project, when we visit the countries, we create partnership. I'm also a member of the AU-EU Youth Cooperation Hub, and we are experts around Africa and Europe collaborating together. So through this network and the networks that we already have, we have partners all around the African countries who are willing to collaborate and host these activities. I hope I covered your question.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to see more EU-AU engagement in all spheres, so excellent. Over to you, Forsan, for our sixth or seventh.
So I'm taking you, Adil, and everybody to your home country, to Algeria, to meet Bushra Masoudi, who has a project called Irada. Irada, for all you to know, Irada is will or goodwill in Arabic, and this happens to be a project that I personally relate to because we have done work with Down syndrome population here in Israel and in Palestine. And Bushra, the floor is yours. 3 minutes. I'm going to stop you at 2.5.
Hello, everybody. I have the great pleasure to join you, Bushra from Algeria. I believe that being different doesn't mean being disabled to do things, but to do them greatly in your own way. Irada in Arabic means will in English. Our logo, as you can notice, holds 2 colors, yellow and blue, which both signify to the Down syndrome community. Irada is a youth-led initiative based on volunteering to include Down syndrome community. Our goals are to draw a better image about this community and motivate their parents to go forward with them and give them space to innovate as well as understanding them. This leads to integrating them and prove that they are productive individuals. We also aim at improving their abilities on arts and education, importantly, to enhance their self-independency. By all of this, we envision in the future to have socially equal Down syndrome individuals, self-confident and contributing to the national economy. Irada started in 2018 as a social media platform only, as we didn't back then have financial resources to lead activities. However, this struggle kept us motivated to look up for financial resources that ended up by winning grants, fortunately, in 2019. Then we could implement some activities before that the COVID hit us. Now the struggles are no more financial, however, are about how can we be active during this pandemic and how can we sustain the project after that. Our activities varies from online and offline activities, and now we are more into online activism. We lead awareness campaigns on social media through sharing medical and psychological information about Down syndrome, along with national and international success stories. We have an organized team that work on social media, in addition to monthly webinars. After the pandemic, we will continue doing training workshops on arts as we have done in 2020 by the beginning. We will do workshops on arts, handcrafts, and education to give those individuals space to express their interests and learn new things. We will also do seminars for parents and the general public to know them more, ask their questions, and most importantly, make them know that this community matters and we have to deal with them as we deal with any other persons.
Bushra, 30 seconds.
Yes, it's done.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Bushra. What a great initiative. I have a bunch of questions for you, so maybe you want to, remember, write down. First of all, I'd like to know in numbers, how many people, how many hearts have you touched, which leads me to also, how do you measure your success in the end, Bushra? You also talked about connecting to policymakers. How do you think policymakers will help you, and have you come a long way through that? And if we have more time, could you please tell me, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Okay, so for your first question, I guess that you are asking about statistics. And unfortunately, we couldn't have any official statistics about Down syndrome community in Algeria, because when I started working, I wasn't like a legal organization that can ask for those kind of things. And until now, I am not an official organization. We couldn't yet organize ourselves. So I don't have any statistics. However, we could gather a group of adults that we worked with our first activities in 2020, which were 7, and I guess that more wanted to join us. For your second question about success measurement, we actually measured the success of our first workshops. We have had 5 workshops, and we measured the success by questioning the parents of those adults that we have worked with. We have questioned them about their habits in the house, about the changes that they have noticed in their kids, and fortunately they have noticed many psychological changes thanks to our activities. And on social media, we are measuring the success by the statistics of the reach of the page to the people, and we are reaching to over 10K persons by our posts. For the last question about connecting to policy makers, I would love to connect, or I would like to connect with policymakers through making our projects an official association soon, inshallah, so that we can work legally, and we can do more results. And yeah.
So thank you, Bushra. Talk to me money. Okay, I would like to understand the finance of this project. How much, what is your operating budget for a year, for example? And, have you raised any money? What are sources of funding can you approach? And we still have about 40-something seconds.
Okay, so for I will jump into the last question so that I answer the other ones because they are connected. So at first, I have made a partnership with an association so that I can ask for budgets from other people or from official parts. We have asked, but unfortunately we couldn't reach any financial helps. So what I did is that I participated in a competition which is MEPI Venture Funds because I'm an alumna of this program MEPI. So I won the grants which were over my imagination. We have reached over $6,000, which are more than what we need actually for our activities because we don't really need much materials. We need only materials to draw and to do handcrafts. So I suggest that the estimated budget that we need per year is no more than $800.
Bushra, thank you so much. Wonderful project. Adil, the screen is yours.
Thanks so much. Actually, something I picked up from the last presentation on statistics is beyond money and markets. Maybe this is an idea for next year's series. Is addressing data poverty in the region and access, because beyond money and markets, entrepreneurs need data, and that's something that we hope will be supported in the years to come as we emerge out of the pandemic. We now move away from Algeria to west to east to Egypt, but also northwest to Maryland, the United States of America. We have Hala and Hiba Nasruddin from Egypt with the Mediterranean Homeless Initiative, and their colleague Nicholas Scotto speaking to us, I think, from Maryland. The floor is yours. 3 minutes, please.
Hello, my name is Hiba Shadi. I am the founder and the CEO of Atrangency, a health logistics startup in Libya. 2 years ago, my father was in the hospital where I noticed a tragic event. I noticed that there was a delay in the delivery of blood for an emergency blood transfusion. We studied the issue and realized that our capital Tripoli of 2.5 million people has only one blood bank that serves more than 50 health centers. The health centers are located in places suffering from traffic congestion, and there are no alternatives for delivery. In Libya, when blood is requested by the hospital, it is the responsibility of the patient's family to deliver the blood in the complete absence of health safety standards. This also causes delay in the provision of a blood transfusion and essentially means the loss of life.
Normally, there are 36,000 units of blood requested per year, but this number increases by about 10 times during times of war. And so Hiba thought of using the drones to deliver the blood, thus ensuring safe and rapid access to blood, with the possibility to use the drones for other health-related purposes, such as delivering medicines and even COVID-19 tests. Hiba and Abdur Rahim, a lead engineer, began working together to collect and program the first drones for transport using a GPS system. The drones can reach up to speeds of 60 kilometers per hour, which is far quicker than that of traffic. We have plans to have a prototype ready for the first blood delivery in Libya in the beginning of 2021. This project will make a big difference in the lives of patients by providing them with a quick and affordable service of only 30 Libyan dinars per trip. We have a projected financial return that will help cover our costs so that we can continue our mission of saving lives. The gross revenue is projected to be 180,000 Libyan dinars annually and will likely grow exponentially as we look to service more health centers throughout the country. So I also attached this photo. I think everyone can see it. Is that right? Could you see this photo that I've shared?
Not just yet, no.
Oh my goodness, okay. Let me see. It's just our prototype. Okay, it's visible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, this is one of the drones that the first drone that Rodency created. Hiba is actually amazing. She was able to create a complete drone by herself, and she even programs the drones herself in order to use the GPS functioning. As you can see here, there's the box to carry the blood, as well as it can carry any other health-related functions like medicine or even COVID-19 tests. And this is just a prototype, so it gets the point. It can go from A to B, and it has a carrying capacity. And that is basically it.
Well, thank you very much, Hiba and Nicholas. I must stress that I previously introduced the Mediterranean Homeless Initiative rather than Dronegency, as we have two Hibas on our list. But it's no worries at all, and very pleased to see this presentation. Just a couple of questions to come back to Hiba and Nicholas. Could you tell us a little bit about what scaling up looks like, and also telling us about your cooperation with health institutions, no doubt in a country facing both a pandemic and conflict at this current juncture? And how would you describe your progress so far with this respect?
Yeah, definitely. So we're actually currently just looking for a sponsor as of now, someone who's admires what we're doing and is willing to help. But the thing is, there's, like we said, there's 2.5 million people, and there's only one blood bank. So what we want to start off with, since there's about, I think there's 50 hospitals in Tripoli. Therefore, we want to just start with one hospital at a time and grow from there.
A mini semi-political follow-up, if I may. Unfortunately, drones have often become synonym in Libya for other reasons. How do you sort of embrace drone for I don't want to use the word good or bad because I don't want to make this a political discussion, but how is there an embrace of such technology? Is it something that you're finding attractive in the university bodies and so on and so forth?
I think definitely, because this is the first time this has been done, something like that, I think, in the entire continent of Africa, possibly. And it's something new. It helps the people. They've had times of war. And so there's been a lot of need for emergency blood transfusions. So yeah, I mean, the government, we're looking to get government permission soon. And I think a lot of the young people will be in full support for what we do. I mean, drones are the future.
I'm sorry, I want to add something. Actually, the government is supported us, really, support us to do this. And we're looking for a sponsor, and maybe we get someone in next stage, inshallah. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Hiba and Nicholas. A very interesting initiative. And embracing future technologies. We now, so just to sort of emphasize, that particular presentation falls under the category of business and new economic models, where our previous presentations thus far have embraced culture and civil society. We now shift to Forsan, who will take us through another presentation within the business and new economic models category.
Thanks, Adil. In fact, yes, this project is in the business and new economic models, and we still have, after Roberto Renino, we're going to have one more project, and guys, we're almost there. So the next one is super exciting, like all of you guys here. This is, in a way, a partnership, Lebanese, Italian, and it deals actually with food security, which I find it's really fantastic because, both Italy and Lebanon, they have some of the best food in the whole world. So, Roberto, the floor is yours. Please take us 2.5 minutes. I'm gonna stop you for a second. Go.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay, good morning. Thanks for the introduction and this opportunity to participate to the Med Youth Forum. My name is Roberto Renino. I'm presenting a project on food security in the post-pandemic scenario. The project is called Lebanon Farmer Souk and is developed with a close collaboration between Centro Studi Internazionali, a think tank based in Napoli, and Hiba Shur, a fellow colleague member of AMEL Association International, a prominent Lebanese NGO where I also worked during last year. We have three main goals with our project. The first is support local farmers and food producers build capacities in sustainable food production, and create a self-sufficient and interactive network among the beneficiaries. Thanks to the widespread presence all over Lebanon of our partner NGO, we will locate the place to implement our project in a rural area that might have the best preconditions to successfully begin our activities, and we might start in the area of Trablus of the city of Tripoli in the north. The implementation will follow 4 main phases and will go from gathering local farmers and food producers, then fundraising, appealing to local, regional, and international donors, then capacity building sessions and trainings involving experts on food security, sustainable food production in order to wisely use the available resources and to decrease production-related waste, and then disseminate knowledge on home agriculture and food processing to develop small businesses of production, retail, and delivery. The beneficiaries will be residents of Lebanon of any nationality, including refugees, migrant workers, regardless of their gender or religious belief. The trainings will be organized especially for the youth, and we aim to include people between 18 and 35 age, resident both in urban and rural areas, while farmers and producers will benefit from the network created to harmonize their production and retail business. After having created a first functioning hub in one area, we aim to expand to neighboring villages and different provinces of Lebanon, and we hope also that this initiative will have a positive impact not only in Lebanon, but also in other countries in the region, so in the rest of the Middle East and North Africa. Consider the peculiar situation that we're facing now in the whole world. Of course, we have to take into account risk analysis, surveys in order to find the best way to implement our activities and to put in place this very ambitious project. But we're very confident on our capacities and especially on the Lebanese people's desire to rise and fight back this situation of despair. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Roberto. I did not want to stop you, but you're right on time. Tell me, this project, the success of this project really deals with the quality of your partners in Lebanon. And so tell me a little bit about the partners. And that's one. The second question, tell me exactly where do you stand in the development of this project? And are you worried about finances? And you've actually already answered one of my questions, which is, do you have any plans to expand? And clearly, once successful in one place, it seems that this project could actually scale up to many different areas in Lebanon and maybe even countries. Syria, for example?
Yeah, Syria, I mean, is like the the closest neighbor, of course. It's like probably the easiest path to go. But to answer to your first question, our partner Amel is a very eradicated reality in Lebanon. Is the biggest non-sectarian NGO in Lebanon, and it's a Lebanese NGO. So we rely on the existing already of projects of food security scattered around Lebanon, because the NGO that we are partnered with, they have several centers, not only based on food security, but they also operate with education, protection, and education, both of Lebanese and Syrian refugees. So they actually encompass all the people that have vulnerabilities in Lebanon. So they're really experts on what they're doing. So we can put our ideas together with their capacities on the ground. And that's basically for the feasibility of the project. Also the financing, still the NGO has a lot of connection, has a lot of already appealing of funds for the other projects that they're putting in place. And we can contribute with other, as I was saying, fundraising and calls for international donor, regional ones. And I think that like food security projects are really appealing also because of something that are fundamental, especially in this situation of crisis, but not only in the COVID-19 situation, but also to prevent other crises and to be able to deal with next and future crises and challenges that Lebanon will face.
Roberto, thank you very, very much. A wonderful project. Now I would like to give the screen back to you. Adel, presenting our last entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much, Fursan. That went very quickly because it's all been so very interesting and dynamic. So back to the future, I'm going to reintroduce Hala and Hiba Nasruddin from Egypt, and they'll be taking us through a project, namely the Mediterranean Homeless Initiative. Hala and Hiba, you have the final 3 minutes of the presentation part of the contest. Over to you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Homeless, the hidden victims of the COVID-19 pandemic, a Mediterranean homeless initiative.
If we look at the world today, we'll find that everything changes standing in front of an invisible epidemic of COVID-19. No force on earth could fight it. Yes, all these weapons could not fight it. Countries spent money and lives for wars, so more than 150 million people around the world are displaced as victims of those wars and various conflicts.
And when the slogan was raised, stay at home, we all panicked and followed all means of protection and prevention. But did we think of those who have no home? Did we think of the homeless who are dying for one reason only, no house harboring them?
Millions of homeless children, women, and men need our help. We appeal to all to unite together to spread peace and save humanity. From here, let's launch the Mediterranean Initiative to end homelessness.
The initiative includes 1. The Mediterranean Homeless Platform. In line with technological revolution and the ease of thinking between all parties to the initiative, this platform will contain 1. The Mediterranean Homeless Index. This will reflect the numbers of homeless in each Mediterranean countries, and it will include children, women, and men homeless number, housing homeless, income source, political action and voting, and health care. 2. Homeless application. It will help in linking the homeless with supporting institutions, to contributing with the police to find the missing and connect them with their families. How the application works? When you find a homeless, turn to the application. Upon entering the application, you will be asked the age, gender, upload a picture of the homeless, then determine homeless location. Then admins will contact the nearest nursing home to the specified location to provide assistance to the homeless. 3. Mediterranean Donation Fund for Homeless. 4. Crisis Policy Committee. 5. Partners. 6. Learning, training, and awareness to deal with the homeless through training on the basics of dealing with the homeless, entrepreneurship training for the homeless, physiological support for the homeless, the literacy, complete their education. 7. Volunteering. 8. The inspiring. They are the ones who have become successful people after their homelessness. It's their role now to inspire others to recover. Number 2, the Mediterranean Council Homeless. It's based on the care and assistance of the homeless around the world until we reach zero homelessness. The Council established branches and at Mediterranean countries, develop a strategy by which to work towards achieving the goal. A representative from each country is chosen. The Council is convened annually to review the implementations of a specific strategy and to update its work periodically in order to keep pace with the developments of the situations so that we finally reach zero homelessness.
The launching of the Council starts from Mediterranean Dialogue 2020 to spread the message of humanity, together to complete the path of giving and humanity.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Hala and Hiba. Just a couple of, again, very brief questions. Could you start telling us a little bit about what financing looks like for this initiative? And also, one buzzword in the sort of donor and NGO space is duplication, cooperation. So how do you plan to work with people who are already in this space? Is there going to be a sort of scaling up multiplier? Is there something specific that you're planning to do, or do you think that there is just a demand? So first question around financing, second question around cooperation and partnership.
Okay, about the first question, first we need to know the needs of homeless, which are homes, learning, healthcare, and education. We can fund through organizing and advertising campaign through or led by Mediterranean youth to raise awareness of donating to the Mediterranean Homeless Fund. And we will make partnerships from international organizations and governments and social civil society in each country that provide homeless with health care, nursing homes. And we also indicated that platform will provide homeless with entrepreneurship training, so they can open or start their own projects. We will turn to self-financing of the initiative. So we will expand these projects to complete our initiative. About cooperation with organization, it's not an individual initiative, so we will need cooperation or we welcome cooperation from all sides, and we will try to communicate with all institutions that work with homeless, and this will facilitate directing the homeless to be the institutions that support their conditions through the mobile applications that will receive the status of the homeless.
Thank you so much, Hiba and Hala, for answering the last question of 2020 Youth Forum or Med 2020 Youth Forum's youth competition. Thank you all for such wonderful presentations, which will no doubt add value in the civil society or capitalist business and economic space. So I thank you immensely from my side. Unless Forsan has any words from his end, we'll be passing on to Chiara Lovotti, who will take us through the mechanics around polling and introducing our Arab Youth Survey presenters, Florence Gaub and Osama Filali Naji, before we move to Vice Minister Marina Sereni, who will announce our winners. Chiara, thank you so much, and thanks to all.
Thank you, Adel. Thank you very much. I must say I was impressed by so many ideas from all of you, by the passion that you put in your work, and also allow me to say I was impressed by how professional you are, despite your young age. Thank you to our moderators. You have been fantastic, Adel and Forsan. We are running behind a few minutes, so for the sake of time, let's go strictly right to the poll. So we open the poll since this very moment. For those of you who are connected through the MED platform, at the top right of the page of the platform, you should have a button called polling right next to the discussion chat button, and you will have to click on that. Once you click on polling, a slide should appear. I hope everything will function correctly. A slide should appear, first slide, summarizing all the titles and of course the names of the creators of these projects. So it's a list, and you have to pick the one you have your favorite one based on the criteria for selection that Adel has mentioned before. He has mentioned them twice, so I hope you memorize them. So pick your favorite one. You have as quick as possible. I hope that's happening. And once that first, in a few seconds, a second slide will appear. This one on business and new economic models. So mentioning the two projects from this category. And once again, you will have 30 seconds to pick your favorite on that category. And once you will all have submitted your votes, these votes will be mixed, as we said before, with the votes of the technical jury. And in a few minutes at the end of this contest, we will mention the winners. I hope all is functioning properly. And now, while this vote happened and while we elaborate, I'm pleased to give the floor to Florence Gaub, Deputy Director of the European Union Institute for Security Studies, the EUISS, and his colleague Osama Filali Naji, founder and CTO at Arab Research and Advocacy Bureau. They will present key findings from recent EUISS Arab Youth Survey, so very timing and accurate with what we are dealing today, on arrangements that European governments specifically and other policymakers all over the region should can adopt to streamline their assistance, to leverage the demographic dividend and create the conditions to promote youth empowerment across the Middle East and North Africa region. If we have time at the end of this, I will be pleased to open up to a couple of questions. Of course, if we don't run too much late. So pleasure is mine now to hand it over to Florence for her presentation. Thank you, Florence.
Thank you, Chiara, and lovely to see all of you. We'll be very quick because we are short on time, and also perhaps slightly below your expectation, we can't fully share results with you, and I'll explain in a second why, because we are running a bit behind schedule that with our survey, and Osama will explain in a second what's happening. In the meantime, I will show you what the survey actually is. So the first thing is that it's actually, technically speaking, it's not a youth survey, it's a future survey. It is taking place amongst younger people, but I'll explain in a second why we're calling it that and not just a youth survey. So first of all, we're doing this jointly with the Italian Foreign Ministry, and Osama from the Arab Research and Advocacy Bureau is implementing it. So he will speak to you in a second as well. So what is it? Of course, the rationale, Chiara, you already said it just now, oops, hang on, is it's a very young region. You all know this, you are part of them. It will continue to be young until 2050 when it will start to slow down. But for me, what's more important is that two political generations are growing into maturity. So of course, Generation Y, the so-called millennials, they are in full juice. So that some of you, but also the Generation Z, the younger ones, are beginning to become politically mature. If you want, you could also Generation Arab Spring, but there will come onto the political sphere, onto the labor market, everything, you name it, perhaps with a different point of view. We just don't know what they think about the world. Why a survey? You know, it's no secret that none of us can travel, and for people like me, that's pretty awful because we can't be close to you and understand what's going on with you. So Osama and his team are being basically our eyes and ears on the ground. And then lastly, perhaps also worth mentioning, youth are very important for the EU in general. So there's a council decision on youth and external action. There's also a youth strategy, and of course, you know, the global strategy. So that's just the official rationale behind it. But I think all of these reasons together are really, I think, quite enough. Now, before I give the floor to Osama, how is this different? Or when Osama and I started talking about this, we said we want something that's different from existing surveys. And what you see here on the right is not from our survey, it's from the Arab Youth Survey, which is also a very, very good survey, of course, but it doesn't look at the future, it looks at the issues. So really what we're trying to contribute or to try to do differently is very much in line with what all of you have presented today, is we want to look to the future. We want to get out of the conversation of today. We want to get out of the misery and the depression. Every survey, Arab Youth Survey or others, show that young Arabs are depressed, they want to emigrate, they think life will be horrible and miserable. There are very good reasons to feel that way. But we were wondering, what can we do that's different? Well, how can we get out of this conversation? How can we leverage something constructive? How can we change a bit the conversation? And that's why we started this survey. And I think, Osama, this is your cue.
Sure. Salam alaikum. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well? Yes. Okay. So essentially, we are focusing on 4 main countries, which is Morocco, Egypt, Libya, and Palestine. And we've focused on the design of the focus group to mitigate for any potential bias in the participants' answers. So we've done a lot of research. We found that the ideal size of the focus group is about 8 people. So it's enough people to have a conversation, but not so much that the conversation begins to influence other people's ideas significantly and reduces time for each participant to actually convey their opinion in the allocated focus group time, which is about 1 hour. The average age of the participants is roughly 28. And we've made sure that for each of the 4 focus groups, again, in Morocco, Libya, Egypt, and Palestine, there is a demographic balance in the focus group design. So, for example, let's take the Palestinian case. We make sure that there are both men and women present, both employed and unemployed, both Christian, Muslim, and atheist, etc., etc. So when we hear the responses, we're trying to understand what the response of the Palestinian youth or the Palestinian people are towards their future, and not necessarily what do Muslim men think about their future. So we've tried to mitigate against these issues. One thing that we've done is we've embedded a pre-questionnaire. So every participant receives a questionnaire before the focus group starts, which has a series of questions on their opinions about the future in their country, employment prospects, environmental services, if they feel adequately represented, and so forth. And every question has 4 answers, which we've done deliberately. So it forces each participant to actually provide an opinion. There isn't a neutral, there's no neutral answer to any of the questions. Every question can be answered either I strongly agree, I slightly agree, I slightly disagree, or strongly disagree, to summarize the various answers. So the reason we're providing a pre-questionnaire is because we understand that when the focus group happens, people will start to change their opinions a bit as the conversation happens. So we wanted to capture people's initial thoughts before the focus group. Now, in terms of the results and what we want to do with them, we want to quantify the results and say, you know, X amount of Libyans believe that employment is an issue, for example, or just to provide an example, but we want to convert these problems that we've identified into solutions and embed them into policy. So reaching out and marketing our analysis, which will be presented in the form of a brochure to stakeholders in the Mediterranean region, like the EU ISS, as Florence is present on the call, and other EU policymakers in the region. With regards to the delays, we've had a few delays because this is a partnership project between us, the Italian MFA, and the EU ISS. We just had to make sure that all the paperwork, the MOU was put together, and we signed everything properly, made sure that the contract, we all agree with how this is happening. And I didn't want to, I wanted to make sure that the focus group was sophisticatedly planned so that the results aren't deemed redundant by many people. So this is why it's taken, we're slightly behind, we're about 2 weeks behind schedule, but we will have the results this year. And yeah, I think it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you, Osama. You made it clear the responsibility is entirely ours. So it's nothing on the ground that caused the delay, even though perhaps if I go back for a second, firstly, that is the Lighthouse of Alexandria. The lighthouse is often a symbol that we use in foresight or anything future related, so that's why I put it there. But the first question we got from people when we advertised participation, you know, why are you using these 4 countries and not 4 others? So as I put here, this is just the first phase. I think we will continue branching out as far as possible as we can to other countries, but we had to start somewhere. So here are a few examples of questions. This is, I think, where this survey is really different from other surveys, because we are really talking about the future, and we're trying to figure out how people feel about the future, what the future actually is to them, and actually even to you. When I ask you today, what is the future for you? Is it the end of this year? Is it next year? Is it 2030? Is it the 22nd century? And so forth. So it really, there are questions like that. And then in order to get a feeling for how people conceptualize the future, you can ask them questions like, what do you associate with the future? Are there companies, entities, people, even films, whatever, that you associate with whatever the future is? Because that gives you an indication what connotations are and what perhaps more positive ideas are. And then we have a whole set of questions, and I don't know if some of you perhaps also want to add a few reflections on how we came up with these questions, because it was an iterative process between the two of us and the people of your team, and of course the Italian Foreign Ministry, where we tried to get out of the common question that you get in a lot of surveys: are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future? Because inevitably the answer will be pessimistic. But a lot of us, this is by the way a very interesting psychological phenomenon, a lot of us are actually secretly quite optimistic about our own lives. So while we might be pessimistic about everything around us, there are studies that show that nobody ever thinks for himself, herself, I think my next year will be awful. There's always hope. And this is what we actually wanted to get to. Where is the hope deeply embedded in people's lives? Perhaps not about their country, but about their own. And that's why some of these questions are quite personal. What is it that you're looking forward to in your personal life? Maybe it's getting married, maybe it's opening your own shop, etc., etc. And then we're moving into, as Osama just said, quite concrete things, because of course, we are an EU agency, but it's not just that. It's really, we want this to be as result-oriented, constructive as possible. So to get out of this depressive moment and say, okay, what would you need to actually make that happen? And it's a bit, what happened today also in your conversation, focusing on your projects and what you would need to make them happen. Osama, do you want to come in here on perhaps the rationale of the questions?
Sure. Could you, Florence, just for my benefit, what exactly do you mean by the rationale for the questions?
Well, we had a bit of a back and forth process on how we were going to, get to the future in people's head.
Yes.
And I just listed a few questions, but you had also a few ideas on
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, okay. So essentially, and I am answering the question, but I need to provide a bit of context. Bureau has already conducted surveys and opinion polls and research for other organizations, and we've taken a lot of lessons from our previous surveys and previous opinion polls and embodied them into this future survey. So the rationale behind some of the questions were a combination of strategic objectives and strategic questions defined by the EU ISS, the Italian MFA, and also based on feedback that our own participants at Arab have provided in past surveys. One example is the answers, where I mentioned that we've put answers on a 1 to 4 scale instead of a 1 to 5 scale to prevent neutral answers. We've learned that through previous trial and improvement at Arab Bureau. Another example would be gender representation in the questions. So for example, mentioning, obviously myself as a Muslim male conducting research in this area, I can have my own subconscious biases. So when I'm formulating questions that can be asked and answered, I may include questions that try to identify and capture oppression from various forms of oppression that I can see, but there are other forms of oppression that I may not be aware of, such as specific gender issues. And one individual in our team, Layla Dwaybi, she's our senior advisor, she's based in Palestine. She's been very helpful in kind of making me less blind to this and identifying, okay, there aren't enough gender questions in here, you need to include more gender questions. So yeah, it's essentially a combination of experience within the team and also objectives and priorities defined by the EUISS and the Italian MFA.
Thank you, Sama. So I think we only have 2 minutes left, so I don't think we'll have time for Q&A, but I put my email in the chat, so don't hesitate to reach out. Also, Adel had a few pertinent questions on methodology. Osama, I don't know if you picked those up. I think they would be more up your alley because I'm not a survey person. I just know what I want to know, but I don't know how to get there. So do you want to answer that or should we just wrap up?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer it. Adel, could you please explain more behind your question before I answer? Just a bit of context.
No, very briefly, because I know we're running very, very briefly. So just one question is, most of the, a lot of the surveys that have been done from Rabat to Muscat have often centered around exactly that, Muscat and Rabat. So just about moving beyond the capital cities. And then just a second question around the role of scenario, in-country scenario workshops that might better, multi-stakeholder scenario workshops that might better guide questions and thinking. And this is just from some past experiences in the Gulf, for example.
Sure. So in terms of the cities, we are basing the focus group in main cities, so not necessarily capital cities. So in Morocco's case, we're basing it in Fez, which of course isn't the capital. Now, I do understand the disadvantages and the problems caused by that, as you've identified. However, there are some advantages also. For example, in the main cities, you can pull together people from the outskirts, from suburban and rural areas and metropolitan areas. So it can be a hub for different demographic different demographic groups to meet and contribute to the focus group. So when we were deciding, okay, should we have all the focus group, should we have various sub-focus groups in rural areas or have one in each country in the main city, we believed that the advantages of having it in a major city outweighed the disadvantages, which were pragmatic, they were practical obstacles. So that's essentially that's why we're having these focus groups in major cities, but we are consciously making sure that not everyone present is from an urban area. So yeah. I didn't. Yeah.
Sorry, I think we have to stop. But I sent Adel. You have my email, right? I mean, I would really would like you to come into this conversation, and we can continue in the future. I just want to say thanks for having us today, and also thanks particularly to Osama, because without him, none of this would be happening. And I know you work extremely hard, but this is a very exciting endeavor for the EUISS and the Italian Foreign Ministry. So watch this space, do reach out, follow us on Twitter to find the results, the first results, because this is just the first batch on the future. And thanks back to you, Chiara.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Florence, and thank you, Osama, for being with us and for sharing such an important and much needed survey and research on these topics. I know it's quite difficult to get from the region, so your work is very important. Thank you for sharing it with us. And now it's my great pleasure to give the floor to the Italian the hard task of the contest. Did you hear my connection is unstable?
We missed you for about 30 seconds, Chiara.
So I was saying it's thank you, Florence and Osama, for their precious work, and I hand over with pleasure to the Italian Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Marina Sereni, who this edition of the Youth Forum, and we'll have to nominate the two winners of today's edition. Please, Vice Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chiara. Thank you very much. Very interesting panel. Distinguished guests, young leaders, ladies and gentlemen. It is a real pleasure for me to take part in the second edition of the Youth Forum, organizing the framework of Rome dialogues by the Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and ISPI. Let me congratulate with the finalists of the Youth Forum contest for their important contributions. They have really given us some food for thought with their cutting-edge projects. Before announcing the two winners of the contest, let me share with you some considerations on the importance of this initiative in this very particular moment. The pandemic is severely affecting youth all over the world, particularly if we consider the long-term economic and social consequences of the crisis. This is certainly true for the MENA region, with 60% of its population being under 30. Young people in the region face the highest unemployment rate in the world, estimated at around 27% already before the crisis. COVID-19 has disrupted the education of nearly 110 million children and young people, and as distant learning methods are not always applicable in countries with weak digital infrastructure. For young women, the situation is even more challenging. Women in the Arab world are estimated to lose about 700,000 jobs due to the pandemic. Young women are twice as likely as young men to fall into the neither engaged in employment or in education or training category. COVID-19 has acted as an accelerator of global trends, and it is likely to lead to an increased brain drain across the southern shore of the Mediterranean. According to a survey, more than 40% of the approximately 200 million young people in the MENA region have considered or are actively considering moving to another country. This is particularly true for countries with the most fragile institutional settings. Despite these challenging circumstances, young people around the world have been fighting the pandemic with great determination and courage. They have played an active role in mitigating the crisis and preparing for us recovery. Youth organizations in the enlarged Mediterranean and beyond have been conducting awareness campaigns, volunteering to support the elderly and the most vulnerable, offering online training courses, sharing data and information, engaging as researchers or entrepreneurs to respond to the COVID-19 challenge. The current crisis could therefore be seen as an opportunity for governments in the enlarged Mediterranean to innovate by encouraging greater participation of youth in society, by supporting the reforms they demand, by listening to their projects and innovative ideas. These are crucial steps to develop together a positive agenda in the Rome and dialogue spirit. And this is the key message of this year's youth context. The Italian Foreign Minister for Foreign Affairs and ISPI have promoted for the first time an open competition. Young Mediterranean participants under the age of 35 had the opportunity to present their innovative and creative responses to the current crisis and support post-pandemic recovery in the area. We received several applications from very diverse participants across the MENA region, covering a broad range of issues, from healthcare to education, from social entrepreneurship to civic engagement, from environmental protection to food security, from robotics to urban innovation. Some applicants from the northern shore of the Mediterranean have presented very interesting projects in partnership with the young youth organizations or individuals from the south. These are perfect examples of win-win cooperation. It is also striking to see how young candidates from war-torn scenarios such as Syria and Libya, have had the strength to imagine a future for their countries by presenting innovative ideas and projects. Moreover, it is encouraging to see a good number of women applicants who have been very creative and bold in their proposals. Let me now announce the two winners of the contest selected by a jury made up of representatives from institutions, civil society and the private sector. The winner for the civil society and culture is Paula Ibrahim, COVID-19 emergency health response in Syria, and the winner of the business and new economic models is Roberto Renino, Lebanon's farmers soup. Congratulations to both of you. I hope to hear from you next year and see how your projects have developed. Let me now leave with you with a quote from US Vice President-elect Kamala Harris addressed to the youth. Dream with ambition, lead with conviction, and see yourselves in a way that they have never seen before. This is the message that I want to transmit to all the young people that follow us today. Thank you for your participation and attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Minister. Thank you very much for your closing remarks. I now hand it over to either Forsan or Adel. I don't know who comes first for a few comments.
Thank you all very, very much. Wow, what an amazing contest this has been. Friends, I'm gonna keep my words very, very brief, but I look at the chat here and I see the words that you've all said. And what I see is that these are all excellent initiatives. I see that these are initiatives and entrepreneurs with passion. You're all amazing, inspiring and innovative. And I am very much inspired by all of you. I am moved by all of you. You're all stars. Honestly, you are all winners. Even though only 2 people are leaving today with a check, but you are all winners. And at this point, I'd like to actually invite Roberto Renino with Lebanon's Farmers Souk. And Roberto, we're gonna keep just a couple of minutes here for you and I to chat. And what is in my mind is, really behind every great entrepreneur, there is a story. So tell me, what has inspired you to start this? And in 2025, when you and I meet at Med again, where will you be? And where will the souk be? Maybe even in 2030. So the floor is yours. Take a minute and a half. And Roberto?
Well, first of all, thanks everybody for this opportunity again. And I'm very happy. And probably also my colleagues in Lebanon will be. Well, it's probably the most complicated question of any time, but I started this idea because I actually worked in Lebanon also with this association, with this NGO in Lebanon. I did research, especially in conflict resolution and conflict analysis. I actually studied the mediation process between ISIS and Lebanon in the border between Syria and Lebanon. So I was studying there, and then I get to know better the reality of Lebanon, especially the refugees, the camps, and everybody who's working actually to try to solve or at least to make the situation a little better. So I also wanted to contribute to this big and endless quest, I think. So at the moment, I'm actually working in the context of pandemic, because here in Torino, I'm working in the contact tracing for the contagion of the COVID-19. So I don't know, in 5 years, I really don't know where I will be, but hopefully working in a conflict resolution situation and peace building maybe, but also without forgetting all this situation, especially food security, because it's probably the highest concern related to conflicts, wars, and everything, because we can talk about conflict, we can talk about politics, whatever, but people on the ground, the first thing that they need is food anyways. So taking an eye on the complex system, not only on conflict, not only on food security, is the most important thing. So I'll try to develop these skills and develop this, I don't know, feasibility of projects and everything. Hopefully to see you again in the next years, and hopefully to see this project implemented as it should be. Yes, that's hopefully it will work.
Thank you so much. Very
Sorry,
inspiring.
I'm a little bit emotional for the things.
Well, as you should be. You know, this is very moving what you and all of them, all the entrepreneurs have done. So again, thank you for your contribution. Thanks everybody for being with us. Adil, I loved co-chairing this with you. So the floor is yours, my friend. And please introduce the next winner.
Right back at you, Forsan. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Delighted to be part of this. And now we congratulate Paula Ibrahim. Well done on winning this year's edition within the category of culture and civil society. Elf Mabrok.
Thank you so much.
Congratulazioni. I tried my best to say that right. And now, Paula, if just in this sort of minute and a half, could you tell us a little bit about, asking you what inspired you? I don't know if it's the confluence of the conflict and the pandemic, but if you could tell us about what inspired you to take this on, but also on the question that Forsan had mentioned to Roberto about where do you see this in 2025? Hopefully, we're going to overcome this vaccine. So, what next, and how do you adjust, scale up, and maintain relevance and networks and the social capital that you have accumulated through this project? Paula, over to you.
Okay. I want first to thank you so much all for all the efforts that have been done for this event, and I want to thank you first for the opportunity to highlight the challenges in my country, Syria, and for giving me this opportunity to share experience with my other colleagues, and for also who has presented very
Paula, unless it's just me, we've missed you for the last 30 seconds.
Great and amazing. A reason why I'm sorry.
Paula, sorry, we missed you for about 30 seconds. Could you rewind 30 seconds?
Sure. I was saying that working with the humanitarian field was the first reason that I have seen all the difficulties that have Syria has noticed in the past years. Also after the pandemic, the situation in Syria has been more difficult with no medical equipment, with the economic situation. So these are all top reasons for me to try to participate in these kinds of initiatives. I'll continue. This is also a push for me to continue participating with the humanitarian projects and also to highlight and put the light on the challenges and difficulties of the people that have been forgotten almost in Syria. So this is for me a great step to move forward in this field, and also continuing my education here in Italy is also a first step also to develop my knowledge and to work more towards when I graduate, to work more with the humanitarian fields. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Paula. Thank you so much, Roberto. Thank you so much, Forsan. Thank you, everybody. And I'll pass on back over to Chiara. I think phenomenal projects, and I hope that the network continues to grow. And if I may say so from my side, along with thanking the partners from my end, and I speak, I think, on behalf of Forsan, I'm sure as well. I think ISPI have really proven that, you know, they've moved beyond being a think tank, but a genuine think and do tank, and may long it continue. You know, congratulations to Med on putting this together, and also a shout out to Francesco, Serena, Chiara, and the team. Thank you so much for making this happen, and congratulations to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Adel. Thank you, Adel, for your kind words. Thank you so much. Just a final word on the contest. I'm so happy to have been with all of you today. And I should say, even though a couple of people today will leave the screen with a prize, there are no losers, clearly, in this panel. Each of you wins something every day with the precious work that you do. I always feel so much inspired when we have these youth meetings within the ROMED conference with ISPI and Italian Ministry. So thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you guys, of course, because you are really the ones that make this possible. Thank you to our partners, the Italian Ministry for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, BCG, with Marco De Masi and Pietro Romanin, the OECD with Pietro Gagliardi and Miriam Allam, the ATF with Floriana Folisi. I hope, of course, the EU representation to Italy with Paola Bocchia, and I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. If I am, I apologize in advance. And my warmest thank you to Adel, Forsan, Serena, Francesco, and Daniela for making this possible. And I do not say this like this, but I really believe we will be able to meet again next year's plural, hopefully in Rome, inshallah. Thank you so much to everyone. Thank you to our audience and everyone who was listening to this event. You have been great. And this is dedicated to all of you, to the winners, to all of you guys, and to our partners. Thank you. See you next time.